Looking to avoid elimination against the Timberwolves late third, up by 18, Nikola Jokic finds Cam Johnson, step back three, got it. Denver wins this one, 125-113, and we are headed back to Minnesota for Game 6 on Thursday night. Nikola Jokic, 27 points, 12 rebounds, 16 assists, 2 blocks as part of his triple-double. Jamal Murray, 24 points in this effort. Spencer Jones, also 20 points. He had the 3-ball working as the Nuggets roll to the win here in Game 5. We now welcome in CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez. And John, the Nuggets are still alive. Just when they were on the brink of elimination, they've made it a series again. What was your reaction to the convincing fashion in which Denver won this one?
Yeah, this is kind of the version of the Nuggets that we've been waiting for this entire series. And certainly, you know, at home, Game 5, can't lose another one. And then the Wolves don't have Anthony Edwards. And, of course, Dante DiVincenzo, who's out not just for this postseason, but for probably all of next year with an Achilles. And you wanted to see the Nuggets really respond to that. And they certainly did tonight. Nikola Jokic, like he put up some pretty good counting stats earlier in the series, but Rudy Gobert previously had defended him really well. Not tonight. Joker goes for a 27-point triple-double, had a bunch of points in the paint, really announced to Rudy Gobert, yeah, you know, you got the better of me in some portion of this series, but not tonight, and maybe not moving forward. Jamal Murray played really well. Those two guys combined, I mean, they really needed to have a big game, and they did. And I thought their playmaking especially was remarkable. They had 23 assists. The Wolves, the entire team, only had 26 assists, and you'd kind of expect that when the Wolves lost not only 2 of their 5 starters, but 2 of their 5 best ball handlers and playmakers. And then on top of that, you know, earlier in the series, Jaden McDaniels had said, well, those guys don't play defense. Well, tonight they played some defense, and then on top of the Wolves not having their 2 best ball handlers, they turned the ball over, the Wolves did, 25 times, which led to 35 points. So just at both ends of the floor, a really good answer for the Nuggets.
You kind of talked about this earlier. We did see a much better version of Nikola Jokic in this game offensively. He started the game kind of pedestrian, didn't look like he was going to be quite as polished as we know he can be, and then he goes all the way and gets that triple-double, as we mentioned, a way more efficient outing for him in this series. What impact do you think that a night like this from him will have on Denver's collective psyche as they enter Game 6?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just for Joker, you saw what happened at the end of the last game in Minnesota where he runs up on Jaden McDaniels, and part of that I think was Joker not being happy with Jaden McDaniels scoring the ball and breaking the unwritten rules of basketball. And part of it was I think Joker was trying to get himself and his team going, right? Light a little fire under him, and he certainly did that. And this was sort of a reminder tonight, not just for the Nuggets, but for the Wolves, for Rudy Gobert, for all of us, that Joker he's not going to win the MVP most likely, but he's probably, at least for my money, still the best player in the world. I mean, he's so capable of influencing a game in so many different ways, and he's so hard to slow down. And Rudy Gobert is a phenomenal defender, and he's done a really good job earlier in the series. But tonight, he had no answer for how to stop Nikola Jokic, and it really felt like Jokic came into this game deciding, like, I'm going to send a message to everybody tonight, including myself, that what you saw earlier in the series is not what you're getting tonight, and maybe not what you're getting moving forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that kind of scuffle there at the end of Game 4. I wondered going into this one how much that would play a factor for Jokic, and it seems like maybe that did light a little bit of a fire underneath him. Now, when it goes to Minnesota, the T-Wolves are playing this game. This is their first full game of the series without injured stars Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo, as you mentioned earlier. Now, in their absence, 6 T-Wolves were in double figures, and that includes Ayo Dosunmu, who came off the bench and had 18 points. But Rudy Gobert, he was held to just 3 points. So certainly the Nuggets controlled him in the paint. What did you think of Minnesota's offense in this one?
What we kind of expected, right? That it was going to be a little bit of a struggle. They got some good efforts from people. I mean, Julius Randle, we thought that he would need to step up. He did. He went for 27 points tonight. And then you mentioned Ayo Dosunmu, who's coming off of a career high in the last playoff game. But tonight, yes, 18 points is great. It's not enough, though, right? In the starting lineup, Jaden McDaniels was the only other guy who went for double digits, and he only had 13. Then you mentioned Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is not an offensive force. He's not a scoring threat. They had to put Mike Conley, dust him off, put him into the starting lineup. He played limited minutes. and only scored 4 points. So if you were a Wolves fan, what you're worried about was where's the offense going to come from when you lose not only Anthony Edwards, but also Dante DiVincenzo, because they were already kind of an offensively challenged team. That's the reason why they went out and got Ayo Dosunmu at the trade deadline. And tonight, that's absolutely what happened, where they had some trouble really scoring the ball. Yes, the score kind of tightened up in the fourth quarter, but the Wolves weren't really in this in the second half. It's kind of a little bit of smoke and mirrors on this thing. And it's not just the scoring, right? Moving forward for game six, they've got to figure out how to add some scoring, but also some playmaking. Again, they had, as a team, almost as many, just barely more assists than Joker and Murray had as a two-man game. And then the turnovers. I mean, they really have to clean that up. That playmaking and the ball handling, it's got to come from somewhere. And tonight, that was a real problem.
Yeah. So now we head back to Minnesota for game 6 on Thursday. And if you're the Timberwolves, I got to ask you, John, how are you feeling about yourselves right now with the chance to possibly win one of the next 2 games? How are you feeling in this moment if you're the T-Wolves?
Well, you're still the favorites on paper, right? Because you only have to win 1 and the other guys have to win 2. But how are you feeling? I'm feeling nervous, right? Because you lost Anthony Edwards. He's not going to play in game 6 for sure. Most likely not going to play in this series. And you don't have Dante DiVincenzo. So you're down 2 of your 5 starters. And I thought, got handled pretty convincingly by the Nuggets. I mean, the Nuggets, I think we forget because the last 3 games before tonight weren't great for them. That's the number 1 offense in the NBA. You got to keep up with that team, right? The Wolves are a good defensive team, 8th in defensive rating during the regular season, but this isn't the regular season anymore. And now all of a sudden you see some pressure, right? Where's the scoring coming from? Where's the ball handling coming from? Can we clean up those turnovers? Can we slow the Nuggets down enough? Can Rudy Gobert really look like the Rudy Gobert from earlier in the series when he was playing better defense against Joker, or is Joker going to assert his will? So yeah, you only need to win 1 game, but that 1 game, that last game, that's the tricky one.
It's always the tricky one when you're up 3 games. You got a chance to possibly close out the 4th. Always going to be a tricky one. We thank you again for all your insight from this matchup, John. A look at the Nuggets' last 4 playoff series when trailing 3-2. You see the first round exit against OKC last year. Before that, 2 wins in the West semis and the first round in 2020. To add a second championship to his resume, but the task of doing that is a really daunting one for Denver, which is currently in must-win mode. Avery, let's go back to you. How much pressure is on Jokic to avoid losing in the first round in a series that he was favored to win?
It's an enormous amount of pressure, especially with DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards not in uniform. In this situation, look, if you ever wanted to have a tailor-made situation that you can draw up on the board and have, I wouldn't even call it a wish list because we never want players to be injured. But if you had a list of like, hey, what would happen if Anthony Edwards and DiVincenzo for some reason got stuck and they couldn't get in the arena for the next 2 or 3 games, especially game 5? What would that look like? That would be a wonderful situation for Denver. That would be an early Christmas present. So right now, Jokic, especially with those 2 guys not being in uniform, this is tailor-made for a comeback. But you can't come back and win the series unless you win a game 5. And this is all on Jokic. He's got to shoot the ball better. Denver overall has to play better, spread the floor. But yes, this massive pressure on Jokic and Murray tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the Wolves have a 3-1 lead, right? But it's tenuous because of what we just talked about, losing 2 of their 5 starters. And that puts a lot of pressure on Nikola Jokic. They had pressure to get out of the first round anyway. And now you have to mount a massive comeback because, look, they had so many injuries in Denver this season. And then everybody started to get healthy. They got Cam Johnson back. They got Christian Brown back. They got Aaron Gordon back. They're still missing Peyton Watson, and that's a big blow. But they got enough people back and healthy that they finished the regular season having won 12 in a row. And then they win that first game. And then all of a sudden the wheels come off afterwards. And they absolutely cannot go out in the first round. I mean, a lot of people, including me, had them at least making it to the Western Conference Finals, right? I mean, don't forget last year they took Oklahoma City to Game 7 in the second round, and that team was much worse than this team on paper, right? Because on paper, we keep talking about how this is the deepest team, the best team the Joker's ever had around him, where they get Cam Johnson, Christian Brown's back again, Peyton Watson has stepped forward. Tim Hardaway Jr. had been really good this season. They get Bruce Brown back. You cannot crash out in the first round, especially when Jamal Murray is enjoying the best season of his career, where he makes All-Star and he's going to be All-NBA for the first time. So Avery nailed it. Those two guys tonight, it really does come down to Joker and Jamal Murray, right? Those have been the best two players in Denver for a while now. They have to be superstars, not just tonight in Game 5, but just moving forward. The rest of the series, those two guys got to come to play because, Rudy Gobert, for all